Welcome to Underqualified Thoughts, where two brothers-in-law have conversations stemming from their daily lives. Expect authentic, relationship-building discussions that time capsule the early years of these podcasters' families, careers, and pastimes. All right, so welcome back to Underqualified Thoughts. This is season 2, and we're excited to have you all join us today. Today we are going to be, Andy and I, today we are going to be talking about Andy's new job as I think I wrote it down as Associate Product Manager. Is that right, Andy?
That is correct.
Over there at Wells Fargo. And we're also going to be talking about it in conjunction with his role as a husband and a new father. But before we jump into that, let's just go ahead and acknowledge the fact that we've been struggling with, how long have we been on today? Like 20 minutes so far?
No struggling. No struggling. Actually, I think we've been on for 40 minutes. But we're not struggling, and the reason we're not struggling is because listen to this audio quality. Look at this smooth, crispy, echo-free, no coins being flipped audio. That's because Caleb and I, despite his request, did not take any donations. We took our Christmas gifts and we threw $100 down the hatch each on these nice blue Yeti Logitech microphones. And the only struggle he's referring to is the fact that this is the first time in Underqualified Thoughts history that we're recording from different locations. And so,
Andy, hold on. Oh, I see now. Keep going. Oh, I'm so sorry.
This is a great time. I don't know what's happening, but we're going to keep rolling with the punches. And we'll circle back to whatever you just experienced. So, you know what? I've lost my train of thought. What did you embarrass yourself with? What have you done?
So everyone, we're going to keep this as a one take. We're not going to redo this.
Love it.
Essentially, we're using if you can't tell, we're on Zoom right now. And we're using new technology. We're using Zoom. We're trying to hear each other and make sure we get good audio.
Well, I just want to point out that Zoom is not a new technology. We're just using it for the first time to record a podcast. Yeah, and it's not the ideal, but it is what it is. And obviously, Sullivans have been busy. It's the new year. Anyway, wait, let me guess. You were looking at the audio file and you saw that there was no spikes when I was talking and you freaked out. Was that it?
That's right.
Because I just looked up, I have the audio file playing too, and I looked at it and I'm doing exactly what you told me not to do. I'm leaning into the microphone right now to look closer at my computer screen and then backing away. But that's funny. While you were talking, I was looking at the audio spikes and saw that mine was flat.
You saw it. Yep.
This is cold.
Anyway, it's certainly a change, and you'll be able to tell the audio is going to be better. We are trying to make this a little bit more formatted, but give us just 1 or 2 or maybe 3 more tries, to work on this.
Hey, Caleb, I want to bring up a concern. When you're talking, I see a flat line. Should I be worried?
No. Oh, man, that's so bad.
That's funny. Yeah. As Caleb said, at some point we are working in Zoom because we're just doing this separately for this time. We'll probably do it a few times. It's not going to be our new normal, or we hope it's not going to be the new normal because this is less engaging for the two of us and less enjoyable when we're just dealing with all these technology setups and just not even shooting the breeze beforehand, just jumping right in. Although there's going to be a lot more distractions now as well because, what I have on my screen in front of me is not obviously, but I have a dual monitor set up at home. So I'm looking at your face plastered all on one screen, full screen on the Zoom. Then I have this Google Doc that you created referencing, the more formatted we are seeking to be this season. And then I have that split screen with the audio that I'm watching. And now I'm watching not just the spikes on the timer that's going across, the timeline. I'm also watching the green bar that keeps going up and down. And when you get too loud, it goes yellow and red. So now I'm going to be watching that, looking to control my voice and not just be like, ah, because see, like right there, I just went into the orange.
That's so funny. There's just so much here to learn. And, contrary to all the haters that talk about how you need to invest in all this equipment. You still have to get the two of y'all together in the same room and make it work. I mean, woof.
I just want to point out that we are not popular enough to have haters yet. So just an ego check there.
No, not all the people, but there's definitely this stereotypical buy the equipment and it'll happen, and there's still a lot of learning curves with it.
By the way,
just time to go ahead and go ahead. What?
Getting distracted once more. I'm looking in Audacity. It says I have disk space remaining for recording 331 hours and 38 minutes. So are we trying to set a new record with this podcast, or are we gonna try to keep it under an hour?
This is fine. We're on task.
Well, especially because speaking of not a new technology of Zoom, we have a 40-minute limit because neither of us have a real subscription to Zoom. So we got to go.
That's right. All right. So as we chatted about a second ago, we're going to be talking about Andy's experience within his new role within the past 2 weeks, and also most importantly, how that is kind of, I don't know, there's just been probably a lot of change as a husband and new father, just like a lot of stuff going on there. So let's go ahead and dive into some questions to learn about the role. I know earlier last season we talked about it, but now you've been there for 2 weeks, Andy. What have you done in the past 2 weeks in your new job?
Not a lot. Which this is very peel behind the curtain. You use ChatGPT to come up with like 10 questions to ask me about my new job. I looked at the Google Doc and I just went, I can't answer any of these questions. Or I could probably answer one or two of these questions. So what I've done the past 2 weeks, I started on Wednesday the 4th. So it's not a full 2 weeks, like a week and a half, 8 business days. The majority of my time has been onboarding related tasks. Like my first day there, I just had to go through all of the corporate company trainings. I spent an entire day doing that, like doing those like online learnings or whatever they would be referred to. And then I've done lots of troubleshooting with making sure that I have access to the softwares that we're going to use, whether it's like Wells Fargo specific software or, Teams and Outlook and things like that we just need to make sure are working on my computer, which that has been different softwares, different programs have been giving us and me headaches because I don't have full access to them, which that's what was tough. I couldn't join a Teams call until like my second week there. So that was kind of just like feeling like I'm alone, not a part of the team, or not alone, but disconnected to the team. And it wasn't until Thursday of this past week, so I guess my 6th day on the job, where I actually got to tangibly see a function of my job that I'm going to be doing, where the person who had my role before me was doing a request, and they called me and did a screen share and was like, hey, this is how you walk through and do it. You can, mock it up on your end, so you can walk through and see it as I'm doing it. So to summarize, the majority I've been doing is onboarding, just kind of sitting in on meetings, hearing words that don't make sense to me, understanding that they will eventually make sense to me. I just have to get immersed to them, or immersed in the language, like, the jargon and all that. And then just slowly being patient, waiting to find out how I'm going to fit in on the team and what my day-to-day is going to look like.
I think all of that is on the nose in terms of you're in the role. You checked all the boxes and you're there. But in a sense, you're kind of still underqualified in a way.
Absolutely.
Like within I think that's maybe, I don't know, the whole job process is a little bit overrated, because once you get to it, you realize, there's just so much more that I'm going to have to learn. There's just this massive learning curve. In the past, since you've worked in like corporate world, and I haven't, obviously, how long is the learning curve in the past, and how long do you think it'll take?
So it's been incredibly different in each role that I've had. I had an internship right after college, which wasn't in the corporate world. It was at like a small local company. So that was very different. That kind of was just like, I was working in their marketing department and there was 1 to 2 other people. So I basically was just taking on the tasks that, not like the I mean, it's more or less grunt work. I was just doing the task parts of their job that they aren't able to give their full attention and focus to. And so that was kind of like, like you're in school where you have a teacher who's done it before and is showing you how to do it. My first corporate job, I came in training to be a financial advisor in a group of 16 other kids who were just out of college. So that was very easy. Like there was a steep learning curve for a lot of areas of the job, but there was the community of a lot of people trying to learn how to do it at the same time. My second job at UBS was very different because I already knew the UBS systems and software. So the only training I had to learn was how, like the ins and outs and the nuances of how they interact with their client. I didn't have to learn anything as far as like how to operate inside our system or like, how to have phone calls, how to manage expectations, things like that. This one, on the other hand, is going to be it's going to be a steep learning curve because I realized quickly I understand the industry, like not as a whole, like I don't have it mastered, but I've been in it for 4 years where like the words that I'm not understanding aren't the relationship that my team has with the advisors and the client associates. Like I get that. I understand that we're the back office, they're coming to us with requests. What I don't understand is how we meet their requests, how we meet their needs, what we can do, what we can't do, and all of the jargon that the team uses to talk. And what's going to be difficult is I'm more or less onboarding and working remotely, which I did not anticipate because this is a hybrid role. I'm going to be in the office 3 days a week. But as far as I can tell, I'm not going to be working directly with anyone in Charlotte. All of the team members who I'm going to be working directly with are in either St. Louis or Minneapolis. So that
it's almost like you're going directly up onto the next question I was going to have for you, which was basically, I personally am trying to push the progressive limits of what we were brought out through in like the early 2000s, which is that extreme corporate culture of the suit and tie thing, like we've talked about before, which I think we still have yet to hear about that story that you were talking about. But speaking of the work from home and remote benefits, if you will, I know another Wells Fargo employee that essentially they said, hey, we need you to come back to the office for 2 or 3 days of the week and be that hybrid model. And then he showed up at the office, he keyed in, sat down in a cubicle, and like it was just him. There's other departments and things there, but he's not related to them. He doesn't talk with them. He's literally just doing his remote work in a cubicle in Charlotte. Is that kind of the situation you're talking about?
That's quite literally what I'm experiencing. So the first day, you're right. I still have to go back and tell my first day of work story at UBS where I showed up without a suit. But I can tell you this first day story. I walk in. First off, I show up to the wrong building. Not because I got the building wrong, but because I was told the wrong building. And that was a whole nuanced thing of like, I didn't want to tell my manager like, hey, you told me the wrong building. Like, whatever. When they were like, when they were reaching on the first day or two, or like, hey, how are you getting settled in and stuff? Like, how smoothly did things go? Like, I didn't want to say, well, everything was great except for the fact that I showed up to the wrong building. But I did want to let them know just like, hey, like that happened, not upset. Just that's why it took me a while to get to where I was supposed to be. If you're wondering why I wasn't online at the time we had agreed to be. And then, so that happens. But then I get to the floor I'm supposed to be on. And did you hear that cough? Was that seamless? Oh, look at that. That was a pro move. I hit mute on my microphone right before I coughed. And now I'm gassing myself up about it, so I've lost track of my story. But, so I was given a phone number of I'm not going to be working with her directly, but she's under the large banner of our team, of the one person who's in our office. And so she like walks me upstairs, like once I get my access key card, because you have to like scan in to get to the elevators, go up to the 21st floor. Ooh, so fancy. And then we walk into just this completely windowless hallway. Like and so we come out of the elevators, go in these hallways, and then we scan in to get through another door, which if the building is a big rectangle. So the floor is a big rectangle, elevators in the middle, and there are 3 or 4 doors where you scan a key card to enter, and they're all like blocked off. So it's not like this open floor space at all. Like it's a very secure floor. And so we scan in, and the environment of the office is outside the edge of the floor, where you have the windows and the view of the city, are all of these offices, which, whatever the higher ups sit in, and no matter, whatever department that they're in. And then there's this open cubicle space where like the wall is like hip height when you're standing up. It's not like the traditional cubicle where it's above your head and you can't see anything. And in the offices, there were 3 people in there's probably like 6 or 7 offices that I can see, like of the ones that are like have a door, a view of the city, all that. There's like 6 people there's 6 or 7 offices, 3 of them have people in them. One guy was nice. He came and said hi to me, and then we haven't said anything since. And then the 2 other people, just like when they walk out of their office, their heads down, and when they go into their office, like their heads down, and like they're just in and out, not trying to interact. And then all of those cubicle spaces that I referenced, no one is sitting in it. It was just me. So my first day, I show up to that environment that I described, and I kid you not, like obviously there are some people in offices within eyesight, but I'm like alone more or less on this floor because they all have their doors closed. And I was like, this is miserable. What have I gotten myself into? This is going to be terrible. And while it's still not great, the second day I went into the office, there's a guy who's not related to my department or team whatsoever, but he came and sat in the desk next to me, and I've seen him every day since. But it's still like, we say hi, we chat for a little bit, and then it's like, we put in our headphones and do our work. Because I'm on calls with my team, and his job is more like just very much put your head down, get your job done, like hit your quota for the day, and then you're done. So yeah, that environment that you described is very much so what I'm seeing and experiencing. And I have no problem going to the office like 3 days a week. Like the hybrid role I thought was perfect, but going into the office, it's not even so much of a thing of like, because it's not a solution for me if they say, oh, well, if there's no one in the office, just stay from home. Well, it's like, well, I didn't want a remote job in the first place. I wanted to have a team in person that I interact with regularly, just because that's what I prefer. And so that has been definitely the most difficult part.
Well, because obviously, like, you're a big social guy and you want to be around people and work in a team physically and be present with them. And there's like this like, let's build good culture and that sort of thing that obviously remote work has like a ton of challenges with. Some people find a good way to do it, but yeah, like a lot of advocates within the corporate world say, hey, let's go ahead and keep everyone, in a real building and all this. So it's just crazy to think that there's a company saying, okay, let's do this, let's try to have our little, and then there's no team. Like, does your team even work? Are there anyone close at all?
Close, like
would maybe show up into that office?
So there are only 2 people who work. And so this is where it gets into like the corporate hierarchy and structure and how much of a sliver of job responsibility we have and how divided everything is. There are only 2 people in that building that are even remotely related to me, but I won't interact with them. Like I work in the money movement product, and within the money movement product, there's so many different slivers of like responsibility. Like there's a team responsible for ACHs, a team responsible for journals, a team responsible for wires, which those are all different distribution methods. And then there's my team, which is responsible for, it's so jargony, I barely understand what it means, but it's like additional transactions and general items. Like that's the sliver of the product that we're working on. And then, of course, there's a bunch of different roles within that. There's the associate product manager, the lead, the tester, the developer, and all that stuff. And so there's 2 people in my office, and they're a part of the broad money movement product. But I'm not going to interact with them at all, except for those big quarterly meetings where they get every single person together just to talk about the vision of the team, and then you go about your separate ways and work. So that is what was eye-opening, because that was a question I didn't know I needed to answer or ask. Because they said things like, yeah, you have team members in Charlotte. And I was like, perfect. I hear team members in Charlotte. And I was like, people who I'm going to be working with. But what I've quickly learned is team members, they meant the very broad sense of they're in our department. I was like, well, that's not team members. They're not sitting next to me, and our job functions don't overlap whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so that's been frustrating.
Wow. Well, it's definitely something for all of us to think about, and especially just people looking to move careers. There's just things about it that you won't know off the get-go. I think about my own movement into teaching 3 years ago. There's just so many things there that I would have never thought about. So in the last maybe 10 minutes of the episode, let's go ahead and look at the transition in terms of now you're working again. And so as a soon-to-be father in May, I'm excited to understand what it looks like and how you've also been having grace on yourself in terms of entering that career, new career, after you weren't really, I guess you were jobless, but it was kind of by your own
professional dog walker, professional podcaster.
Yeah. So, and also, entering that new career while also being a father to Lily. Talk to me about what does that look like in the past 2 weeks?
Oh, probably the most common phrase I've been repeating is all is vanity. Caitlin's you need to go read Ecclesiastes because you are feeling it right now. And I was like, yes, I am. All is vanity. We're just chasing after the wind. What is life? Because everything that I described from the role, to summarize it's very lonely. It's lonely to go in the office to see all of these people. I commute by riding the light rail or the trolley, whatever they call it. And I walk past all these people on the sidewalk, and then I get in the building, and all of these people are, I suppose, technically my coworkers because they all work for Wells. Don't know any of them. And, you see people sitting at tables, talking to each other, chatting with each other. And you're just okay, cool. I'm just walking past all of you guys because I know none of you. Go sit at my desk by myself, walk out for lunch, go back to my desk, and then walk out again when the day's over. So that's been incredibly lonely. But then what's amplified it is being at home. Obviously it's difficult. Obviously there are things that I don't enjoy about it. When Lily's crying incessantly for a long period of time, or whenever there's tension between Caitlin and I because of anything that's going on in our relationship or what's going on with Lily. But it's clear that I add value, and it's clear that I know what my responsibilities are and I know where I can step in and add value. Versus now, I'm sitting in an office for 8 hours a day where I have no clue how I'm supposed to add value. It's just hey, your job just started. We know there's going to be a long run-up time. Go figure out what you're supposed to do. And it's not obviously there's structure. I have a manager, and I have the person who did the role before me is my product, is one step senior to me. So she's been teaching me, how to do my job, which has been helpful. But in the beginning, those first 2 to 3 days in the office, I was dude, what is life? What am I doing right now? I could be at home, bouncing Lily to sleep or cleaning up things so that Caitlin can tend to Lily. But instead, I'm just sitting here in an office and I have no direction going forward because I'm just waiting for all of these programs to get access on my computer. So I feel like I'm adding no value and just wasting my time. So that was tough the first few days for sure.
And then the last, so you said you've been there 8 days. What about the latter half of last week? Was it any better than that, or was it just more of the same, or did you just find a way to cope with it?
I think it's a combination of all of those. So I, what's been helpful is that I've been able to sit in on the meetings now. So that's been a huge benefit. Just like I mentioned before, just be able to sit in, start to immerse myself in what's going on with the team. Even though I don't really understand what's going on, like eventually I'll be able to look back and be like, oh, that's what you guys meant. Okay. That's been helpful. The last 2 days, like Thursday and Friday, I was working from home and having those Skype calls with my senior to just learn how to do my job. Like even one small aspect of it was incredibly helpful. And then I talked with my friend and our elder from our church. He works at Wells. He was one of the big advocates for me to work for Wells. And so he had seen Caitlin on Sunday. And she was like communicating to him, like just telling him like how difficult my first week had been. And so he reached out to me and we talked, and he just did the sage wisdom of, it's only for a season like this, or I think the direct way he said it, like this too shall pass, or this too will pass. So that has been an important mind shift to when I felt like lonely and like I don't add any value and all I see is an uphill climb to try and do it. Understanding that it will pass, and that with hard work, I can find a way to fit into the team and be proactive, to be engaged. And also, I don't think he meant it this way, but it also helped from my perspective. Like, I'm too much of an optimist. Anytime I take a job, I'm like, this is going to be my job for the rest of my life. And so when I sat in there the first week and was like, ugh, like, I don't know if I'm going to want to do this long term. Like, I'm going to have to go through the job search again. Are you kidding me? Which obviously was an overreaction. Who knows how I'm going to feel 3 months from now? I might love the job.
Yeah.
But it definitely was like a kind of a crushing reality check of like, this job could also just be for a season. Like, I could just be at this job for 6 months to a year to get it on my resume that I was an associate product manager, so that I can then go to either a different department in Wells that is located in Charlotte, or a different company that's located in Charlotte, or even a completely different industry than being in finance and being a product manager there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for sharing all that. I think there's more people out there that need to hear that type of story than is, considered. I think about all the people that I know trying to get out of jobs that they would say they would love to go and do that type of job that's higher paying. And we could think of those types of names in our mind of all these people. But when they get to it the first week or two, and maybe it'll continue, maybe not, they don't really know, but it's just a slog. At the end of the day, yeah, all is vanity, work is work. Read Ecclesiastes, like you're saying. I mean, that's just, it's a good reminder to remember that, just like us in the house that we're living in, we're looking to remodel the bathroom, and we're looking to, like, what's next in 5 years. I think as our father-in-law says, he always says, it's just a house, like it's just a job, that sort of idea. We want to work hard at what we have and provide, but the big things in our lives that really matter are obviously our salvation, our families, and in a way like our community. And so really, really, that's encouraging for me, even just thinking about my own like place in my job search. Thinking to what you were just talking about, like, I do enjoy my job. It doesn't pay well, but like I do enjoy it. At least the aspects that I choose to work hard at. The other stuff that's just bureaucratic, yeah, like I kind of I forget. But the stuff that matters obviously matters. So that's really good that you're sharing that.
Yeah, it definitely helps to give the perspective that you summarize there. And also just to go through, what in that first week when everything was feeling low and not enjoyable. The first thing I did, I think you asked earlier, like, how have you been giving yourself grace? I wasn't the first week. I was like, why didn't I ask better interview questions? Why did I choose to leave my job so that I was more inclined to take a job? Why did I it was second guessing everything, overthinking, and just not wanting to break through the inertia to get momentum going into this job. I just was feeling sorry for myself and was like, why did I do this? Should I keep job searching? Should I jump to something else? But yeah, the understanding of work is valuable. We were created to work, but to not hang our hope and hang all of my, my potential happiness in this specific role, not only because, it's just a job, like it's not going to ultimately fulfill me, but also from the perspective of that, who knows how long I'll be doing this. Like I could be doing this for just a couple months or a couple of years, or even if I do it for the rest of my career, then like there's still a lot other aspects of my life and a lot of other opportunities to find joy and to find meaning, even if I don't find it joyful, like where I can grow as a person professionally, spiritually, personally, relationally, all that jazz.
Yeah. The saying is true that, like work is a very small piece of our lives. And some of the most content people I know are making less than $15 an hour. Like, and that's just what's insane to me. Like these people are happy and they're productive and they're making like significantly less than us. And so it's cool. Well, any last thoughts? We're running down on the timer for Zoom.
Yes, I will let you know that around the 31:05 timestamp, I took a drink of water and swallowed and saw a spike on the audio. So you might want to deal with that. But if not, then we'll just leave it in there.
It's a learning process. I'm super excited to get back and edit this together because it's, I don't know, I think it's going to be crispy. And I think, honestly, this episode might have been one of the best ones we've had. Just from the speaking points you share, those are, at least they're most impactful to me. Like, that was pretty good. Yeah,
I definitely felt a little rambly, but I suppose the purpose of this was almost like a therapeutic walkthrough of what happened in that miserable first couple days. And soon there will be a episode where I get to pick your brain about things that you're walking through and going through, especially, my goodness, when the season comes, when Miriam comes, I am going to, from the perspective of like having had Lily and, being finally out of that season of survival, I'll just be like, so Caleb, how's the last week been?
That's so funny. And we're definitely going to hit back on this topic here with your job, like maybe next month or something, or in a couple of weeks, because that'd be good just to check in and see how the giving of grace continues to, like, I don't know, help you explore more opportunities with your job.
And to hope that I'm less dead inside at that point.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you all for joining this first episode of season 2. Hopefully you found it to be relatively constructive and constructed well. That's what I'm trying to say. And revealing both. Yeah, all of it. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.